welcome to South West London TV. I am Pia Jackson and we are here on the 100th anniversary of the Chelsea Flower Show 2013.
Hello, South West London TV. Welcome to Chelsea Flower Show.
So, Gavin, tell me a little bit about the inspiration behind this.
The inspiration is it's part of a larger garden, and at the bottom of the garden there's a stream that runs through it. And so the owners have decided that that's a place where the sun sets, that they'd like to sit and enjoy a glass of wine. And they've retained the apple trees and this kind of roughness to it, but then brought a contemporary edge in, and they've brought that landscape down, and then explored more interesting planting. It was designed so that you actually sat on the end of the cantilever and put your feet in. And I've got to say, at the end of yesterday, after working on it all week, that was actually very relaxing to do. So that's one of my favourite spots. And the other one is possibly in that chair, looking through the poles with kind of the world going by. We're using copper piping and concrete. You know, these aren't expensive materials, but they can be made to be very luxurious. I think we started in sort of September, October in terms of designing, and then we've been refining that and refining that and refining that. But they built it in 11 days.
11 days, and you've been here on your hands and knees.
Well, in a designer sense, that all credit to the builder's got to go to Garden Link, who did an amazing job. So they've been flat out for about 4 weeks building it, off-site, and then bringing it in.
Tell me, Andrew, tell me a little bit about this garden.
What we're trying to do is to turn ordinary things into extraordinary things. So the concrete is polished and has a luster to it, reflects light. The rammed earth walls are really textured and have this beautiful stratification through them. But also in the planting there are various plants that are just special things that you have to find in the garden. Again, sometimes they're quite ordinary things. So we have berberis in the garden that you can see on almost any roadside verge or in any civic planting anywhere. And when you say berberis to the garden journalist, they sort of poo-poo it, but in fact it's a really beautiful plant and a really unusual one. So that follows the theme through the planting. It took a lot of finding. It's not been seen at Chelsea for about 20 years.
Really?
I think it might be the star plant of the show. I think in some ways now the fun starts. You know, we wait for medals, but also for the interaction with people coming to the show, seeing it on television, see whether they agree that it's this kind of relaxing focus, really.
I think it is. I'm going to dip my feet in the stream later. You go and have a very well-deserved glass of wine, and thank you so much for talking to us.
Okay, cheers.
Well, we're having a little rest now. I'm having a glass of Pimm's and resting my weary tootsies. We have met some really fantastic people, lovely, lovely people. And in a minute, when I've glugged this and put my wellies back on, we're going to go and see if we can find some more. Here we are at the Seeability Garden with Darren, who is the designer. Darren, can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind this garden?
Yeah, the garden's been designed for a charity called Seeability. They were formerly the Royal School for the Blind, and they support people with sight loss. One of the things I was really keen to do was encapsulate the enthusiasm with which they go about their work, and the attitude they have towards supporting people with sight loss. So the garden envelops you, makes you feel secure, but it's also quite bold in its choice of colours, which is primarily a choice that I've used to make the garden usable for someone with limited visibility. They can distinguish between plants because of the colour combinations. And there's also features like the water feature and glass screens, which are representative of eye conditions. My starting point was, if people have very limited vision, what type of things can they see that would be exciting? And I was thinking about how light would reflect and refract off of these balls in sun, and that would be curious for somebody with limited vision. But also it's representative of a condition called macular degeneration, where people have experienced sort of blind spots within their field of vision, and I was thinking how I could represent that and obscure the vision for people like us that have full vision. So it works on on 2 levels. This glass screen, there's 2 of them, but they've been made by an artist called Joe Downs, who's based in Cornwall. It's 3 sheets of glass that have been melted together with broken glass frit on one face, and it's representative of a cataract. And people with cataracts have complete blurred vision. So in here, you know, all we get is a vague understanding of what's beyond in terms of colour and form. If you've got limited vision, one of the last things to go is your ability to understand and interpret yellows and purples. And so those strong contrasts, the yellow stands out strongly against the sort of purple-red background, and it just means that people could identify those planting areas, as well as being, I think they're quite fun and funky to look at. It's not very subtle, but it's bold and hopefully make people smile.
Tell me a bit about the materials you used and how this came about.
Yeah, the starting point was, you picked up on it, was a pattern of your iris. I wanted to create a texture and a surface that people with either blind or partially sighted would be able to feel through the soles of their feet where they should go, and that all the slates that make up the path face into the middle of the garden. So it's sort of functional as well as being really beautiful. So we took slate roofing tiles, cut them into sections by hand, 20,000 pieces, then snipped them and joined them together. It's taken 4 months of preparation and 3 weeks on site to put together.
Good heavens, were you there chopping away at this slate by yourself?
No, not by myself. I've a team of people doing it for me. I was involved in that process, and it's one of the things I really enjoy doing as a designer, is being involved in the manufacture and handling the material and bringing it to life. So it's a very important part of the process for me.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us today. It's not only an absolutely stunning garden, but the thought behind it is extremely inspiring. So we've really, really enjoyed being here, and thank you so much for talking to us.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, I have had a marvellous day here at the Chelsea Flower Show. I think the highlights were probably accosting Alan Titchmarsh and seeing Prince Harry, who is very tall. But I hope you've enjoyed our tour as much as we have. Please subscribe to our channel so that you can tune in and see all of our reports as and when they come up. This is South West London TV at the Chelsea Flower Show, and I'm Pia Jackson.